I didn't. What states? States.
I'm talking about America. You were talking
America is a collection of states.
The United States of America is our country.
America. I don't know.
I said the word state 4 times.
Yep. So
state.
you were talking about how the federal government did not impose on the states a religion.
Yes.
And then I said, so I responded.
Yes.
And I said, you're right. It's almost as though the founding fathers did not want to impose a religion on the people.
And then my response to you was, of course, but that's been established.
The
states did, yes.
But the states did.
The states did.
Yeah, we're talking about America.
That's a good sign you're losing a debate when you start dancing. That's a really, really good sign.
The American ethos specifically.
The states are part of the American ethos.
Sure, but I don't think that Maryland deciding that they want to be, let's say, Protestant. I don't know what the dominant
it's Maryland's ability to do that. That's part of the American ethos.
Sure. And then they got rid of it, all of them.
No,
but the American ethos.
It's not they got rid
of it. The American ethos from the founding fathers was we don't impose religion on people.
At the federal
we
level,
let the states choose.
No,
we don't impose religion on people. True, base. Thanks, Andrew.
Oh, except we did.
Yeah, I ignore everything after.
At the state level, it was imposed all over the place.
I'm talking about federal.
Why didn't the federal government go in there and stop those states from imposing their religious values?
Because they
couldn't.
Well, they didn't want to.
Yeah, exactly. They couldn't. They couldn't. They were not allowed to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost as though the American founding fathers agreed that we should not impose religion on people, which I would say Christian nationalism wants to violate.
Except they didn't agree with that. They compromised for it.
Oh, so they did want it. They just couldn't do it in the federal thing. So they
that was the compromise, yes.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. You're saying that
they were the federal government. You think they couldn't just make another amendment that said, hey, you can't have any state religions either? They could have very easily done that. They didn't want to, so they didn't.
The founding fathers did want the imposition of religion on America. They just couldn't do it at the time, so they wrote it in this backhanded way to let the states do it. But the actual intention of the founding fathers was to
in a backhanded way.
In religion
it was
into the
written
Constitution.
Into the 10th Amendment. Mm-hmm. That's not a backhanded way. It's an upfront way. It's very upfront.
Almost like if they wanted religion to be imposed on the nation, they would have done so.
They didn't want a national religion imposed on the nation.
You're right, they didn't. They wanted separation of church and state at the national level, which is central to the American ethos.
We've agreed with that 500 times.
True, but then you keep on trying to fight me and being like, well, Maryland kept it for a while, so that's actually also the American ethos. It's like, no,
it is.
You know, all the greatest debaters really do have a little signature dance that they do while they're trying to make their point. I remember Gad Saad when he used to debate, and all these people. What the fuck is this?
Not.
Yes, it is.
No, actually, they updated to agree with it. In fact, every single state. Yes, every single state no longer has a religious test.
Because
correct?
the 14th Amendment.
Does
that's not the states doing that. That was a federal thing.
Most of the states updated and got rid of their religious test long before the 14th Amendment.
Oh yeah, when do you think the last one ended?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
when do you think it comes out?
The 60s. I think the last one was in the 60s where you didn't have to say, declare that you worshipped God in order to, swear an oath or something like that. I think it was the 60s.
Sure, but the last one happening in the 60s doesn't mean that most of the states hadn't updated before then.
Some of them did.
Sure.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah, that's all I'm claiming.
But the truth is,
you're trying to fight me on that, but that's what I'm claiming.
Most of that was because of the 14th Amendment.
Do you think most of the states got rid of the religious clause when the 14th Amendment came out, or do you think most states had already adopted the federal landscape, and then some places had
No, what was going on was that a lot of the states wanted to return, actually, to the idea of having state religion.
A lot of them?
And this was challenged in courts, and so what happened is, yes, this was a national conversation.
Challenged in court, and then
it was challenged in court. They said, well, based on the 14th Amendment, which is about citizenship, states can't do that anymore because of the uniformity clause or whatever it is. It's like, what the are you talking about?
Cool. So the federal government of America, in line with the federal government initiative.
She's glossing over the point. Why would they have to have a decision like that if the states weren't trying to do that? Like he's already proven his point here, and she's trying to pretend like she doesn't see it. But there would be no court case to decide this if nobody wanted it. So obviously, at least one state did want a religion for their state, and they were not allowed to have it.
Initially doesn't want to impose religion, and then when it became a big question of whether or not states could continue to do so, the same American government over time also agreed that it was un-American to do so. Cool.
Well, they didn't agree it's un-American.
Well, they definitely felt that it was a violation of the Constitution.
Based on the 14th Amendment. That doesn't make it un-American.
Sure.
What would be un-American about repealing that? Nothing. Nothing.
I'd say
Nothing would be un-American
Yeah,
about
I think the federal government initially and throughout all of America's history has moved in a direction of separation of church and state. They think it's very important
At
to
the
not.
federal level, that's true.
Yeah, America. We are talking about America. Remember?
America's not just the federal government.
I didn't say it just is, but when we're talking about the emergent principle of America, we should probably think about what the federal
We are
government
thinking
is.
about it.
Yeah,
We're
but you're
thinking
kind of
about the
disregarding
federal
it. You're
and we're
kind of
thinking about
being
the
like,
state.
I know the federal government said that we can't impose religion,
What
but
is this?
states said they could. So actually, the American ethos is imposing religion.
I know
on the
that
American state.
I know that the states could definitely impose all of their
Come on,
religious
I'm cuter than
values
that when I
on
do it.
everybody.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You look retarded.
But the feds, all that matters is what the feds want.
I feel like when I do
All
it,
that matters,
What a waste of tits, huh? Jesus.
it's a little cuter.
all that matters is what the feds want, man. Because the states don't even matter, bro. Even though that was who the compromise was with. It's like, what are you talking about?
Your wifey.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, it's almost like since it was founded by Christians, and these same
She probably swears her oaths on a coloring book, I would think.
Christians separated church and state. So it's almost like the Christians even then agreed with me that it would be unchristian to impose a religion at a federal level on the people.
A
It's
thing
almost
which
like
was
they.
never in question.
It is. You're just trying to be like, but the states, but Maryland kept it for a while, man. Okay.
Not just
Maryland's not
Maryland.
America. Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
Some
you're right.
states.
Maryland's not America. You got
True.
it.
But
What
10
was I
states aren't
thinking?
America. America is a collected, unified group under the Constitution, particularly the federal Constitution.
A unified group of
Made up of states, right? Dirt.
what?
People.
States?
People.
States?
Sure, as well state.
It's in the fucking name, lady. United States of America. It's on our seals. Go look on a dollar.
But like the people of the states, yeah.
When we're talking about rights and separations of power, do you think that state separation and federal separation matter?
Yeah,
Yeah, I do too.
cool. That doesn't mean that we were founded on a Christian nation, that Christian nationalism is what the American ethos is, or that it should be.
Well, what was in question is whether or not un-American to change the Constitution because Christian nationalists
It was
want
not
to,
whether
and
it
you
was
never made a
un-American.
compelling
Nope.
case for that at all.
No, it was not about whether it was un-American to change the Constitution.
That's literally the prompt. The prompt is if it's un-American to have Christian nationalism. Your only argument was, I think that if they went in and restricted things that I don't like, that's un-American because no reason.
No,
Your reasoning was like, because life, liberty, and some nebulous pursuit of happiness. And even if I grant that Christian nationalists can get in there and they can do things like go after liberty, that's fine because I'm not a liberty maximist. But they can preserve
Well,
life.
some-
That's fine.
well,
I'm not a
hold on.
life maximist.
Hold on, no.
It's
Some-
like you just equivocate on everything.
I'm not. How is any of that equivocating?
Because you utilize when I say wait a second, when you say liberty, if you go against liberty, that's going against some kind of American ethos. I say, okay, that's fair. Then I give you an example of when we would go after liberty and it would be fine. You're like, that's fine because I'm not a liberty maximalist.
How is that equivocating?
Because you're using the word liberty here in two different ways. You're saying, well, liberty in this
No,
case.
I'm using it the same in both
Okay,
ways.
so where's the
I always love a Necronomicon mention.
threshold for maximalism for liberty?
I'm not sure exactly where it
I
is,
know.
but there is a threshold.
I'm going to read the super chat here. Texas Red, thank you very much for the super chat. Very kind of you. This is getting annoying. SCOTUS gets to determine what the Constitution says based on the power grab of Marbury v. Madison power grab. No state agreed to the loss of their ability to determine a state religion. The 14th says that entirely from the bench of SCOTUS.
Totally un-American, by the way.
Texas Red, thank you for the super chat. Did you want to respond further, or was that kind of...
Yeah, he's right. It's totally un-American. The whole idea here, we're asking about whether or not Christian nationalism is American or not. She's appealing to ideals which are not even, like, for instance, I don't even think the word secularism existed at that time.
True.
Okay? Like, you're appealing to ideals in the presentism form that
When
are
did
silly.
I say secular? There's like an ideal of America.
Yeah, the ideal of
It's called heathen back then. You were called a heathen.
America, when you're talking about pursuit of happiness, so it's ingenuity, it's all about science, it's about these things. It's like,
Is this
it was
secular?
also about states' rights. States'
yeah.
rights was fundamentally an American core value.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that Christian nationalists would give it back to the states, give gay marriage back to the states, give abortion back to the states, that is fundamental to that ideal, and it's very, very much an American ideal.
Right, but there's obviously going to be times where federal policy like imposes over top of states.
Not if Christian nationalists are in power, then they can change
would-
federal policy.
Wait, so if Christian nationalists are in power
Yeah.
and they want to cede power, would they accept California allowing the of kids and forgiving marriage, and for all of the liberal degeneracy, Christian
it's the-
nationalists would go, "You know
If it's
what?
the case,
That's okay.
If it's the case that inside of a democracy, Christian nationalists are elected to these high offices and can pass legislation, which then stops California from doing that, you could not have a single objection to that.
Sure, I could. I would say probably those Californians don't want that, and that would be a pretty major violation
Yes, all objections are always started with probably. Probably.
of state
don't want
rights.
But under the current framework, you're calling it un-American if we don't adhere to the 14th Amendment, and the SCOTUS ruling of the 14th Amendment. It's fundamentally un-American because the founders didn't want states to have religions or some shit.
That what's un-American is imposing federal religions onto others, imposing religion generally.
Yeah, but that was
onto
never
others.
in question, whether or not the feds were supposed to impose a religion.
Well, the question is it an American ethos to impose religion on others? And I'm saying no.
No, that's not true. It
is the American ethos
there
to impose
you
religion.
equivocate again between, you say, the federal government's not allowed to impose religion. I say, yeah, that's true. And you say, well, so then America's not supposed to impose religion. No, that doesn't follow. One thing doesn't follow from the other. America's not just the federal government. America's not just federal amendments. America's not just this. America's also states rights, what the states want, what states are. And by the way, the most key American thing, the states used to be the ones who sent up Congress. You didn't get to vote on that. The states were the ones who did that. That was the most American system. So I don't know what you're even talking about with this. You never demonstrate how it's un-American for Christian nationalists to use the system of liberalism in order to change it around for Christianity because, the feds aren't supposed to impose
nationalism.
religion. Christian nationalists aren't proposing one single unified Christianity. They're saying that the states should be able to impose Christianity if they want
But
to.
you already granted me that if Christian nationalists had power, they would probably prefer a federal religion. They would probably prefer federal policies on gay marriage. They would impose
system-
these things at a federal level.
And the system is set up.
These are like, you said that they would probably want that. So fucking what? I want a lot of things. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. That's not the topic of the debate. These pivots are getting wild. They go in no direction, and it's usually based off of probablys or maybes. Like what kind of argument is that?
For them to do that.
That doesn't make it good.
That doesn't make it bad.
For Christians, it makes it bad. Yeah,
No, it
'cause-
doesn't make it bad for
Yeah,
Christians
Christians
because
should
you
not-
say so based on Agrippa's trilemma of your assumption of God. That doesn't make it bad. Nothing's bad.
I know that. I know Agrippa's trilemma really stressed you out,
Oh,
but
it
I would say
got
that
me good.
it's unchristian. Yeah, I think it's heretical, right? Jesus,
Well, I think that
the typological argument, is the embodiment of Christ himself rejecting kingship, right? John
even
6,
though Christ-
after feeding the 5,000, he perceived they were going to crown him king, so he withdrew to the mountains, right? We see Christ, Jesus, regularly rejecting political office, regularly rejecting political power,
He did,
because
yeah.
he said, my kingdom is not here on earth. It's not a state. It's a heart condition. It is a kingdom of heaven.
But you also said
Jesus said it was a heart condition? What the fuck?
on the other side of your mouth that the reason that God anointed kings and Jesus Christ is God is because we just weren't ready for liberal values yet.
Yeah, in the same way that I don't think that we're
Yeah, where does
not
it say
liberal
that in the
hold
Bible?
on, not liberal values, God's values.
Yeah, where does it say that? Anywhere in the Bible that the reason that God anointed kings, he only did that because, well, we didn't have a better system yet.
Why? So why?
No,
do you-
no, answer my question. Don't ask me one. Where in the Bible can I find anywhere in the New Testament? I don't care if it's Matthew. I don't care if it's Mark. I don't care if it's Luke. I don't care if it's John. I don't care who you want to reference.
Yeah.
Show me anywhere in the New Testament where it says that God stopped anointing kings because we just weren't ready yet for democracy.
I'm not throwing memory verses at you like I'm some scholar kid. When we actually engage in theology, right? We look at chapters. We look at type of.
Can you answer my question?
Yeah, I said I'm not throwing memory verses
So
at you like a child.
so there's nowhere in the Bible
I
that
would,
says
yeah,
that?
no, I would say that there was a strong theological typological argument. Would you reject typological arguments as a sound form of theology?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
cool.
saying that here, when we're talking about typology,
I didn't say that there's a specific verse that says Jesus went and he said, "You guys, democracy is actually the
Dancing.
best thing."
but
I
you're
never
going to
said
cite
that.
a verse where he decides he's not going to be king as proof that he doesn't want any more kings.
As evidence that, like in my typological argument, which looks at the transition over time of
Let's look at the
increasingly-
transition over time.
Sure, yeah. So in the case of Moses, we have
Just not wanting to be something is not evidence that you think that position that you don't want is an irrelevant position. That's just silly talk. It doesn't imply any of that. I don't want to do a lot of things. I don't want to be a dog catcher. I don't want to be a garbage man, but I think they're really good positions to have. So it doesn't mean I don't want those positions to exist. She's just got this all weirded up in her head. It's just fucking nuts.
Have like extreme statecraft and Christian law. The judges,
King
right? We
David.
have tribes.
Let's
King
talk
David's
about King
later.
David.
That's-
Yeah, also King David. Let's talk
was
about
anointed
the
by the
kings.
prophets, right? So now we have one step of separation between the king and God. So in the cases of judges, they were both kind of acting as statesmen and as like spiritual leaders ish. Whereas by the time we get to David, we have Samuel anointing the
Makes you
king.
dance,
but
too,
Samuel's
apparently.
actually the prophet. He's the word of God,
is a myth.
and the kings are supposed to honor that. Then by
Allegedly.
the time we get to the priests,
That
now
sounds
there's
an
no
awful lot.
statecraft at all. The priests are existing under Roman occupation, and then we get to Jesus, the final typological fulfillment of this, and it is a complete and utter rejection on Christ's part of politics. That's what we see over time.
Then how come the apostles engaged in politics, including Paul?
I don't. Paul. When did Paul ever say that we should like usurp? Didn't he say render unto Caesar
Paul
what is Caesar's?
literally went to Corinth in order to battle for the position of authority because the super apostles came in and usurped his position.
not
And yes,
for state power.
Yes, that was part of statecraft in Corinth. Yes, it was.
no.
Yes, it was. You're incorrect here.
No, was
In fact-
Corinth
in
run by
fact-
Romans or by the Christians?
Well, that's not relevant here.
It's kind of important
What's
to statecraft
relevant
under the Roman
yeah,
Empire.
but do you realize that inside of many of these Roman places, while they were under Roman occupation, there was still a lot of govern within the cities, as long as they didn't violate Roman rules.
As long as they didn't violate Roman rules.
But that doesn't mean that they couldn't impose, and they did all the time, their own cultural, spiritual, various
Cultural and
things
spiritual.
like this.
Yeah, they didn't engage in statecraft.
That is statecraft.
No, so a
If you
pope,
can
no.
could you pass laws inside of Corinth as a spiritual leader? Because the answer is yes, you could. So if that's the case, as long as you didn't violate Roman law, you could do that. How is that fill in with your typography or your typographic, whatever it is? How?
Because
Show me.
at no point is Paul going there and saying that we should impose Christian laws and all these things. He's saying this is what good Christians should do. This is how we should must and ought conduct ourselves. When he's
Then
asked
why is he
about
removing these
statesmen,
I had to say that.
what?
Why is he removing the super apostles? Why is he there to remove the super apostles?
Probably because he found them unbiblical, not because he thought they were bad
he
statesmen.
he said both.
He said
Both. He said the
where's
informing.
The verse? Where's the verse? Give
Find
me a
it-
verse.
Yeah, let's go into Timothy. Let's first of all let's go into Timothy, and we can go to Ephesus. What was going on in Ephesus, especially when it came to the ideas of the cult of Artemis. This was purely political. The fact of the matter was
Worshipping the cult of Artemis is only political.
It was economic. It was economic
It
and
had
political.
no bearing on your spiritual condition if you were engaging with the.
it
with the
was both. It was both together.
what do you think actually mattered here to Paul?
Both.
No.
No, both did. And I'll tell you why.
He constantly talks about
What was
the heart
going on with the
condition.
cult of Artemis, the reason they were so pissed off is because the entire economic model of Ephesus revolved around the fact that they were making these silver statues. Okay?
Okay.
This was a political battle and it was a spiritual battle. It was both at the same time.
So did they say that nobody can now make these silver statues, or did they say that Christians should not engage in it, not make it,
yeah,
not buy it?
Christians were trying to remove that as an economic forum for the cult of Artemis.
And did
yes.
Paul go there and say we should get rid of it as an economic forum? And did
told
he say,
Timothy just that.
No,
yes.
he said don't engage with it.
No,
Christians aren't supposed to.
Yeah, you need to read the letters to Timothy because you're incorrect here. Okay, the truth is that and I understand why. I understand why you came up with this idea. The anointing of kings happened. God put kings in place, but it was just because they weren't ready for another system that didn't have kings. Does that mean right this second, anywhere that there's a king, that king's sinning?
No, but it depends on what the king is. What do you mean?
Like
Probably. It probably does. Most kings sin a lot.
in your country, is it sinful to be a king in your country?
No, because the way that the kings are exclusively performative. Like they have no actual monarchic power. The king can't, for example, tell Canada that they must impose Christian morals.
But let's
into
just say that you
Canadians.
had like a king, I don't know, in Zimbabwe, and this king
Is he Christian?
Yeah, he's a Christian. Zimbabwe's like hell on earth, okay, let's say. And this king gets into authority and he imposes all these Christian values and it brings in all sorts of economic prosperity and people are very happy.
Yeah,
Is
that'd
he
be
It looks like she took a suspicious mint from Destiny before she did this show.
a
sinning?
great outcome.
Is he sinning?
He might be. Yeah. Does he know that it's wrong for him to impose Christian statecraft?
I don't think it is wrong.
It depends on what he's imposing. What is he imposing?
He's imposing that you can't murder, no
I have no
homosexuality,
problem with
no.
murder.
He's imposing no drugs. He's saying all sorts of things like this
Yeah.
and imposing them from Christian ethics.
Yeah, so I
Censors.
would have an issue with a number of the Christian ethics that is only conducted around sin and not actually about statecraft.
But you can't demonstrate that he's actually sinning.
What do you mean you can't demonstrate?
Show me how this Christian king is doing anything which is incorrect biblically by
So-
being a Christian king.
Yeah, so if he imposed on his people,
Yeah.
for example, something that they can't do because he thinks it's a sin, not because he thinks that it makes for like a worse statecraft, I would think that that would be wrong.
Show
because
me the
he's-
sin.
He was
Show me the wrong.
robbing peoples of agency. And choice.
You're not robbing them of agency by having rule of law based on Christian ethics. You still have agency.
If you're forcing it exclusively because it's sin, right? So if there are secular people in Zimbabwe that are gay,
Yeah.
and you force them to not be allowed to
So?
engage in it, and let's say there's
How is that sinful?
throwing people in jail who are non-Christians would be wrong to do. Yeah.
Why?
Well, it depends on what you mean by sin, right? Like when I talk about sin,
If the king of Zimbabwe says he's not to be engaged in anymore and he can't get married, how is he sinning?
because he's imposing on non-Christians something about sin.
So?
So I think the issue would be that that's inherently anti-Christian.
No, it's not. You
Yes,
can
it
make
is.
impositions.
Where does Jesus
of your ethics.
impose himself on
He
non-Christians?
doesn't have to. Jesus wasn't here specifically to give us the message of how to rule.
Should you be more
He was
like
here to give
Jesus
us
or Paul?
He was giving us the ethical framework for how we were supposed to live our lives. And if it's the case,
Shouldn't we live our lives
Yeah, if
politically
it's-
then? If Jesus
it's
wanted
both.
us to live our
It's
why did he reject it?
reject what?
Politics.
Because that wasn't what Jesus was here to do.
So we shouldn't act like Jesus. So Jesus wasn't here to
We
do
are
that.
acting like Jesus.
So theoretically, though, if it was actually more Christian
Mm-hmm.
to impose Christian policy, shouldn't have Jesus established the kingdom of Judea and Samaria? Shouldn't he have done that? United the
established- he
southern kingdoms?
established-
Shouldn't he have thrown off the
He
Romans?
established the brand new kingdom, which is Christianity,
Which is where
which
it?
is the body of people who are Christians, yes.
Where is it? Like what state is it?
State what?
What?
This is the dumbest argument. Why didn't the Pope run for president? Like, he was an American. He could have ran for president. Why did he go over to Europe and become a Pope? Like, that's the argument here. Like it really is. She doesn't understand. Jesus' mission here was not to become elected to any political office or become a king. He came here to start a church, and that's what he did. So, mission accomplished.
State did Jesus make?
No, he didn't make a state.
Oh, you're right. He didn't.
That was not what his purpose was.
So should we be more like Jesus or like Paul?
We're still like Jesus, even if you're a king who imposes Christian ethics. How are you not like Jesus?
Because if you impose on other people,
Should we all get crucified at 33 to be like Jesus?
does Jesus think that we should all get crucified?
You tell me. It's your
That's my
critique.
answer.
That's not an answer. That's a question. Should every Christian get crucified at 33 because Jesus did?
No.
Why?
Because Jesus didn't say that his crucifixion was him.
He didn't say that kings couldn't be
Did he
Christians
say
and
that it's
impose Christian
sin?
ethics.
Did he say it's sin to not get crucified?
Did he say it was sin to be a king and impose Christian ethics? Show me where.
He certainly seemed to reject it outright.
He certainly didn't. Show me where.
Sure, we'll go back to John 6. After feeding the 5,000, he perceived they were going to crown him king, so he withdrew to the mountains.
So?
Matthew.
So if you don't
render
become
unto
king, you
Caesar
reject
what
it.
is Caesar's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Matthew 4.
Does that say Caesar
Satan
can't be a Christian?
offers Jesus political dominion over the earth, and he refuses.
Because why?
Because he is not here to do political.
The reason that happened was because Satan came to him and he said to him, I'll give you everything if you'll worship me. Mm-hmm. And so,
then why did he reject the crowds?
he rejects it, not because he's saying you can't be a Christian and rule. He rejects it because God, is not going to bow at the feet of Satan for material.
So then why did he reject
So why would
the
you bring that up
5,000?
as an example? That doesn't even make sense.
I brought it up and examined a litany of other things of Jesus regularly
To be fair, it was in the Cliff Notes, so that's why it was brought up.
rejecting political power.
Yeah, his mission was not to come here to be a politician, but that doesn't mean that he rejects
Why
that
not?
politicians can use Christian ethics.
Well, a lot of Jews seem to believe that the Messiah's role was specifically to be
Are
a
you a
politi-
Jew?
No, but
Then I don't care.
okay, so Jesus rejects the political position, and we should what? Embrace it? Seek it?
There's no problem within Christian ethics of having a position of political authority.
I didn't say that there is.
Then if
Jesus couldn't swim either because every time he tried to get in the water, he walked on it. So does that mean we shouldn't swim either because Jesus didn't come here to become a professional swimmer? No.
you're
I
going
said
to be
ruling
informed,
from Christians
Yeah.
onto non-Christians.
that's fine.
Is wrong.
No, it's not wrong. And you haven't
Absolutely.
demonstrated it.
Absolutely.
All
What do you
you've
think
done is
sin
given me
is?
some passages out of context, one of them in which he was supposed to bow at Satan's feet.
They're not
Another
out of
one where he
context.
says, I'm going to reject being the king of the Jews. So what?
How are these out of context?
Well, the first one we were talking about was Satan. He did not
was the
reject
third
it
one.
due to political office. He rejected it because Satan said, you got to bow down to me in order to get material.
you that one. Yeah.
Yeah. When
about
it
the
comes
other
to
two?
when it comes to the kingdom, that did not serve his mission. His mission was to come here and
How
give
would
us
that
the
not
good
serve
news.
his mission?
He was to give us the good news that his kingdom has come to earth. His kingdom is here.
How would reestablishing it not help him with showing that the kingdom is here, that we're here to bring the good news?
Ask him. Why are you asking me that?
Because you're the one who
You're
has to
asking me about
theologically establish
the
it.
guys of God. His entire mission here was just give you the good news. That was his mission.
So we shouldn't be like
She literally thinks that was a gotcha because he can't tell you what God was thinking. Like, I can't tell you what God was thinking either. He made Democrats. Like, sometimes you just make mistakes, I guess. I'm just kidding.
Jesus,
How are you not like Jesus because you rule with Christian ethics?
because he regularly pushed off imposing himself politically on
He
other
did
people.
not anywhere ever show us where secular governance was supposed to be the order of the day and Christians were supposed to only follow secularism.
Mm-hmm.
He never showed us this
So then why does he say render unto Caesar, right? Even Paul, in the case of Paul,
because they
you're
were
saying-
talking about taxes.
Okay, so Paul, for example,
So what was happening is
existed under Nero,
Do you
right?
want the answer? Do you want the answer to why he said render under Caesar?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what happened. He was dealing all the time with lawyers, and lawyers would come up with
Pharisees.
these, well, not just Pharisees, but yes, also Pharisees, and they would come over to him and ask him, oftentimes hypothetically loaded questions.
Mm-hmm.
In this particular case, we're talking about taxes, right? So he gives a parable, and he says, render unto Caesar what is his. Right?
Honor the
Yes,
government.
you can render unto Caesar what is Caesar's.
Yeah.
That in no way says that Caesar shouldn't be a Christian or use Christian ethics.
Okay,
There's
I would
like
argue.
nothing there for that. At
Sure,
all.
I would argue that alone wouldn't substantiate this. but
None
this
of
isn't-
that substantiates.
I would
this.
say the consistent pattern of Jesus rejecting political power over and over.
His mission wasn't to come here to be a politician. It
You're
was
right.
to die for mankind.
You're right. In fact, not